Let's ride together, we can take the world now. Let's move together, we can spread the world now. Take you all over the globe and the ends now. Aye, aye, aye. Together we can grow, we can climb the ladder. Together we can build, we be strong forever. Together we can fly, the battle is over. Aye, aye. We just the Jabulani, Hakuna Matata, we celebrating. No worries forever.
Previously on A Day in Your Neighborhood, we visited the National Museum Jos in Plateau State, where we had a chat with the curator of the National Museum Jos and the Deputy Director, International Commission of Museum and Monument, Mrs. Pienyan Yeshim Bichong, who gave us a brief history of its existence.
The museum started as an archaeological museum, but over time it has expanded its catchment to include a zoological garden, an outdoor transport exhibition, tin mining exhibition. We have the Museum of Traditional Nigerian Architecture, where our traditional cultural masterpieces are exhibited for posterity. We have a pottery collection.
Tips about some of our cultural artifacts and antiquities were not left out.
Dufuna is a name of a village in Yobe.
Was that where the cane was found?
Yes, it was accidentally found by a Fulani man who was trying to dig a place to water his cattle. It was dated to about 8,000 years back. So that is to tell you that the man in Africa, in Nigeria in particular, has lived in this area for over 8,000 years.
Wow. This is still...
Yes, this is still masquerade, like I was telling you. When you see them
social
looking...
control.
Yes, horrible. When you, I'm using that term, please, in quote. When you see these ones, they were meant for social control. Yes. Then the camp facade, this one like the Gelede, were mostly used for entertainment.
Okay, so what do we have on this section of the garden?
This section is currency, from the earliest to the modern, most modern one.
So let's start from the earliest.
Yes, the earliest we have cowrie shells, abrusites. Now, you know that currency, anything that is generally accepted and is scarce,
yes,
and as a means of exchange. Now, you know that most of these things were very scarce, especially the cowries. So it was not every place you could get them. So as before the Europeans came, these were all the different types of currency that were being used in different parts of the country. Abrusites.
Now that you showed us the cowries, I can see that this is different from this.
Yes.
And also these are tiny seeds.
Yes.
At what point was this a national currency?
I would call it national based to the communities that use them, but national in the sense of Nigeria as of today, no.
Okay.
But most of this started from the southern part, where the cowries are available.
Okay.
They were collected, and then, of course, through communication and exchange, they move to other parts. But you find out that this is essentially was used by, yes, by Igbos. The Igbo, they were used by Igbo. Here, even the Yoruba used this.
The Yoruba used the Abru seed.
Yes, and even the Benin used it. But also in the Middle Belt, it was used.
Okay. So, so do you have an idea of how much this was back in the days? So if you had given this cowrie, what would you collect in exchange? But
you can see that mostly the sizes determines the amount that will be paid. Just like today, our Naira and Kobo, the paper money, the shapes and sizes are the same, but the value printed on them determines
how
yes.
much.
So it also goes to say, and I will show you a practical example with the Manilas.
Okay.
Yes, these are all iron slugs that were used in different areas of the Middle Belt and other areas. And that is why, for emphasis, you find out that even today, if a dowry, a bride well is to be paid, metal is included.
Why?
Either a cutlass, a hoe, because at a point it was used as a means of exchange, currency. And that's why some people will still insist, some culture still insist that metal is included. And remember, A woman with a cutlass, she will be able to go to the bush and fetch firewood. With the hoe, the man will go to the bush and farm. Wow. So these were very important.
These were signs, symbols of...
Yes.
Amazing. Okay.
Now, we come here, let's just move to the Manilas here. Now you see, this is, as you can remember, this is the symbol of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Yes,
as it is arranged like this. It's the 4 Manilas arranged that being the symbol of the... That is to tell you it was the foremost form of currency in the country. Now you have the shoe horse Manila, the smaller one, the king size. That is the bigger one.
Only the kings had access to this Manila?
No, it's called king size because the king is supposed to be the wealthiest person in the community, isn't it?
Yes.
So instead of gathering all these small Manilas, it has the bigger one that they knew how to determine the exchange rate for this. So we have also the coil Manilas and the queen Manila. So the queen was nearer to the king, while the ordinary Manila was there. Now, the coiled Manilas, if you remember in the fattening room of the Ibibo and other people, even the Igbo, the wealthier the family was, when the lady was being prepared for marriage, they make this thing for her ankles and her shins and all that. So she wear this on her anklet. And everybody seeing her knew that she was a maiden. She was from a wealthy family, a wealthy maiden about to be married. Yes.
So this twisted Manila?
Yes, from the Oron Akwa Ibom area. All these were forms of currency. So here we have the European introduced currency. Yes. We have the first indigenous pounds, shillings and pounds that were later on converted into naira and kobo. You can see the designs were still retained.
Yes.
It was only the name that was changed.
Amazing.
Yes. This was donated by the Central Bank of Nigeria. That is the loom. That is the process of the
into this
process. That's why we're exhibiting the loom there, so that you see the processes from the thread down to the structure. Then when they are done like that in this slim line, they are now sewn together to form.
Okay, yeah, because I can see stitches.
Yes, they are now sewn together. Again, they are made in smaller strips. Like I said, this multicolored one, the first one here, is the Igbo cloth known as Akwete. Unfortunately, today, you don't see the Igbos wear it as much as other ethnic groups wear their own. Mostly, you see it in movies that depict traditional settings. But the other ones, the Tif, the Gamai, Bagi, down to the whole of the Middle Belt, you see that even in social occasions up to today, you see them wearing them. That is the comparison I'm making. I'm not saying that the Igbo are not wearing their own, but they are not wearing as much as other ethnic groups.
It's clearer to say that at least we still wear our own.
Okay. Now, these are household utensils and agricultural implements from the decoy. You know, a hunter's decoy. You know, there are some animals that are so fast and swift that the hunter needs to get closer to them. And you know, the weapons they were having at that time were only bows and arrows and spears. So if you don't get close enough to the animal, you cannot get a good shot. And sometimes, yes, the bows and arrows are laced with poison, but you need to get closer to, because these animals were so they wear this decoy so that the animal will think it is another animal approaching and will not be frightened until they get close.
So it was more like a deception.
Camouflage.
Camouflage.
Yeah, camouflage.
Okay.
Yeah. All agricultural implement, hoes,
hoe,
and all this.
Shovels. I know this is
the sickle.
Sickle.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is the door panel. You can read the inscription. These panels were taken from the doors of the Hall of Audience of Kano on the occasion of the capture of the town
by the British in
1903.
Wow.
Yes, when they captured Kano in 1903. That was when they picked this from the Hall of Audience of the Emir. And this is where, if you go to the law courts today, all Nigerian law courts, you see Lady Liberty. That lady that is blindfolded, holding a scale in one hand, a sword or a cutlass on the other hand. It is why the symbol is that justice is neutral. It doesn't take sides. Now, this Hall of Audience played the same thing. Traditional Nigerian rulers, you know, in the north, all the emirs were supposed to be religious leaders who were also grand cadis, who preside over cases. Now, when you petition and you, the person you are bringing before them, you don't see them. They sit behind
this door.
this door, so that it is only the people, the litigants and the petitioner that come, they argue their cases. He hears from your voices as you argue back and forth, and then he will use his knowledge of Sharia, the Islamic jurisprudence, to pronounce judgment, so that he will have neutrality.
Okay, so that is why on that statue, the eyes is
Yes,
covered.
that is why I am linking it. You see, all Yoruba Obas, when you see them with their traditional caps, they are beaded, they are covered. This is also to give them neutrality
In judgment.
in judgment, because you are not supposed to look at them directly. They are not supposed to look. They are supposed to be. They are representing the ancestors that have come to give justice. When they give judgment, it is based on their knowledge of the tradition of the people that they should give knowledge. So all these things are linked. But if you don't link them, you think these things are just for decoration.
Amazing. I would never have known that the statue in the courts meant neutrality to judgment,
Yeah.
except from coming to Jos. So you need to be here to hear for yourself many other things. Yes, you were going to show me something else.
Yes, these were all household utensils that women, when they were being married away, are given this. All these will be part of the things that she carried to her new house.
Sorry, what's this? What was
Stool.
This? She's supposed to see. Oh, this is what they sat on.
Yeah, stool.
Amazing.
Even these are all different types of.
Different types of.
Yeah, this is from the Middle Belt. This Yoruba, this Benin. So all these things they cut across cultures, but this is for floor, to smoothing the floor.
Okay.
You know, at that time we didn't have tiles. They used broken pots and other stones to smoothen the floor. So the floor beater. Of course, this is for carrying. The only today, because most people don't use calabashes, only Fulani uses them. That's why but it was widespread, because calabashes were the main things that you use in carrying things. So all this.
So you place them on your head. Then you put the
Yes,
calabash.
because the calabash is oval and conical, so it cannot sit on the head very well. So you needed something like this to balance it.
Okay, so that was the calabash I saw on our way.
Yes, the spoon, the
So
wooden spoon, the calabash spoon.
So she was used in serving food.
To serving food, and also the smaller ones were used for eating.
Eating.
Yes, and this was carrier. They put it. This was to dry other things under the fire in the house to store things. But what I wanted to talk about is the Koro drinking vessel.
The
Koro drinking vessel. That one, you see, it is carved on the stomach, abdomen of supposedly woman. Now, it's symbolic. Why do I say it's symbolic? They say that the stomach is not meant to house only food. It covers a lot of secrets. Now, the stomach is open. That means that the secrets have been laid bare. And especially a woman's belly that has been opened. It tells a lot of stories. Now, they only use this to drink after a case has been adjudicated, after a warring party or warring parties have come to peace. And how do they do it? My brother, come, let me demonstrate with you. You see, just come to this side. Yes. Let's use this as the calabash. Okay? Cross your shoulder over your hand over my shoulder. You see, the first thing we do before we can drink with this vessel is that we hug.
You have to cross hands like
Yes.
this. Okay.
Will you hug your enemy?
No.
Good. So that means that even if you were fighting before, you have made peace. That's the first sign. Okay. Then my shoulder, his hand is over my shoulder. Then we hold it. Just bring your hand. Turn your hand upside down. Hold it like this. You see, you hold it like this. Then the calabash, you see the smaller side of it?
Yes.
That is how we put our mouths together and drink together. Do you know the essence?
Why?
At that time, people work with poison in their fingers. They could easily dip their finger in the poison and give their enemy to drink. They will pretend as if they have made peace. But we are drinking together. So even if you poison it, all of us are going to die.
Together.
We die together.
Amazing.
And the elders were always there to adjudicate. If two communities are fighting, the two elders from the communities are brought together. When the peace is made, they drink from this local brewery. Then if it is brothers fighting, the same thing, the elders in their family reconcile them. And once they make the peace and drink from it, woe betide you if you go to break that accord. Because whatever repercussions you get, you don't blame anybody. So the peace has been made, and that is why you drink from that.
Yes, you can see that all our forefathers were all about peace.
Peace.
Not like, they were not...
There must be conflicts in societies, so they had ways of resolving conflicts. I'm leading you to the pottery section, but before the pottery section, we have here the Bauchi City Gate.
The Bauchi
City Gate. Before colonialism. This city gate, this door was made in 1846 or before 1846. And you know, all the towns that's why you call them city gates. All the towns that were ruled by emirs in the north had cities. And these cities had gates. So the gates that's why title holders were allocated these gates to collect taxes and for security purposes. You lock the gate when there are threats, you open them, and all traders that were coming in to the city that's where you collect toll gates. Now, yes. So we move into the pottery section. As we move into the pottery section, the pots were collected in 1956.
1956,
yes.
Ever before our independence.
Yes. All this exhibition was mounted before that time, before our independence. So all these pots were collected from different parts of the country. So as you move along, you will see them. They are labeled according to ethnic groups from all parts of the country, even up to Cameroon.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the Tula.
The Tula.
What people are this?
They are in Adamawa.
Adamawa State.
Area.
So these
so
were
you go,
pots,
just go. You
potteries
see, yes,
that were synonymous
with but this place, you see that the pots are not finely arranged because it is undergoing. We wanted to change the theme of the exhibition, so we were dismantling the exhibition when we ran into some hitches. But as you can see, you can still see the old arrangement. As you move along, you see them: Tula, Batama, Vere.
So
Bata.
these vary are from what people are they?
Most of you see from Adamawa side, you can see Mambila. Yes, you can see Mambila. This Barawa. Yes, Adamawa side.
Barawa is Adamawa.
So Atakar, Kaduna State.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Over 60 years.
Yes. Ankwe, of course,
you know every time I see collections like this,
Yeah.
you could show you the authenticity of the materials.
Yes.
But it's not the same today. Maybe you go to the market and you buy, or you want to have a pot of flour, and the vase is broken. It can't even stand
the
the test
problem
of time.
today, we have commercialized the production. But these people were making them to be used. If you are making something that you know you will use, you don't have the option of metal pots. So you have to make them strong. But today, why you have your vase broken anytime is because people make them just for commercial purposes.
Wow. Okay, it's amazing. Manufacturers, it's amazing that you make for the purpose of usage, not for commercialization, because commercialization has brought a lot of weakness in our production, both in the materials, in the styles of production, which is not good.
Yes, and the reason is that we don't have the regulatory agencies. Because if you have regulatory agencies, they will tell you this is the standard, you must make this thing for it to last a minimum of so period.
But I don't think with our regulatory agencies, we know the right thing to do. So if you are in the manufacturing industry, make sure you make the best of everything that your hand finds to do, like this. Amazing. Yes,
I want to tell you about the sow pots. Sow pots are from Dikwa in northeast, that is Maiduguri area. These pots were used for two purposes mainly. One, they were used as storage of grain. But another purpose, very vital purpose for which these pots were used, they were used for burial. Huh? Yes.
Sorry,
they were used
you mean burial
yes, just like you have coffins today.
Burial of people.
Yes.
But a human being can enter inside.
Who told you? See how deep they are. There are those that are bigger than this.
Jesus. Yeah. Okay, so this is amazing. For me to find out that the sow pot was used as a means of storing grains
and also burial.
People. I cannot believe someone who is a human being could have been buried in that pot.
Of course.
It's amazing, amazing discoveries. Like you can see, the pottery is a large collection of all the tribes in Nigeria
and beyond.
And beyond, even up to Cameroon. It's amazing. The Jos Museum is a place to be. We have one more collection to visit in this episode.
That is a temporary exhibition.
The temporary exhibition. So what do we have in that collection?
It's a collection of rare objects that have never been exhibited anywhere in Jos Museum.
Did you hear that? Rare collections that has never been existed before anywhere than in Jos. So let's go and see those rare collections.
You're welcome. Yeah. Now, this exhibition was made possible with funds from Ambassadors Fund for Cultural Preservation of the U.S. Embassy. And these funds, Nigeria is the first African country to access these funds. Nigeria is the first African country to access these funds. The funds are there, but you have to meet the conditions. And Jos Museum was the first, or is the first museum to benefit from these funds in Nigeria.
Amazing.
Yes.
So can we get to see some?
Yes, come along with me. So we're starting with the drum. And the target audience for this exhibition are children between the ages of 9 to 14. We are targeting them to catch them young. And the essence, that's why the script of the exhibition is written in their language. And this is the first time in Nigeria that we allow the object to speak, not the museum professional writing the text for the object. We allow the object to speak to the people.
Okay, so am I supposed to hit?
No, we said we are big royal drums. We make boom boom sound to announce the date of Obas. The rest of the time, we are kept quiet and you admire our colorful decorations. Don't you see how beautiful we are?
Okay, so how do they hear the sound? Because this is just being read.
Yes, you hear their sound when a royalty has died.
Only when?
Yes.
So I can't beat it?
No.
Amazing. Okay.
This is also a ritual drum. We call it, and it's also Yoruba.
Okay.
A ritual drum, there are different reasons why rituals were done. Either for cleansing, for reconciliation, for whatever, for sacrifices, when sacrifices are being made to the ancestors. So this is when these ones are sounded.
Being used.
Yes. Of course, we have the xylophone, the xylophone. It's a form of idiophone, but people will mistake it for a keyboard.
A keyboard?
Yes, of course, because they see these keys, but they are strike with a stick. And then, of course, we have the shantu, which is common within the northern Nigeria and played by ladies.
Isn't
Shantu.
So the shantu is a flute?
It looks like a flute, but it's not a flute. It is strike by striking it against the tights and hitting it with the hands. That's a unique rhythm they produce with it. So it's not blown with the mouth.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. So this is the...
A Koro masquerade.
Koro masquerade. From where? What tribe is this?
Koro is in Kaduna State.
Kaduna.
Yes. On your way to Abuja from here, when you pass through Kwai, before you reach Kefi. Yes. And here, you also see this is from northern Cameroon. Okay. It was only worn for during when important personalities have died. It's made from feathers of guinea fowl.
Guinea fowl feathers.
Yes.
So it's been here for, I can see that the
yes, for over 57 years.
57 years.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, we have it. Now.
So this is
a masquerade that we found in our store, and we didn't have any information on it. So we are now appealing to the general public that if anybody sees this and know anything about it, he should contact the museum.
Okay. So I'm sure our viewers watching, like he said, if you know anything about it, it says where it comes from, how old it is,
the use, the purpose, and everything about it.
Please, if you have an idea, please contact the Jos Museum staff members. Okay, so this is
Agbogom Mao.
Agbogom Mao. Is this an Igbo?
Yes, it is a masquerade celebrating mostly around Ebonyi, Afibo side. It's celebrating the maiden, and that is why you see very beautiful camp facade with a very elaborate hairdo. And it also, in its performance, it mimics the dance step, though it is worn by men, but it mimics the dance step of women. Okay. And even the music is feminine.
Amazing.
They are made in
thumbs up. This is
yes, a smoking pipe with a pouch for carrying the tobacco, and of course, royal slippers.
It's amazing the kind of shoes they wore back in the days.
Yes. Before my arrival to the museum, I was used by kings and members of the royal families.
While common men and women smoked small, undecorated clay pipes, royal families used to display me and never smoked me. It's better that way. Don't smoke. So these were for decoration.
Yes. So that means that the royal families, they knew the dangers of tobacco. They didn't smoke it, but they carried it along just to show off. And that's why we are also encouraging our young ones. Smoking is dangerous to health, so please don't smoke.
Yes.
Yeah. You see the Abru seat I was telling you?
Yeah.
They used it to decorate this masquerade to make it look beautiful and more elaborate.
Okay, so these were used to welcome everyone 4 years.
Yes, it was for when they
circumcision.
were circumcision, when they were initiating boys into adulthood. Of course, the knock terracotta figures will always play a prominent role in every exhibition in Jos Museum. Okay. So that's why we brought out the philosopher. Of course, the Yoruba honored Ibeji, Ire Ibeji. So every time they give birth to twins and one of them died, they carve out a similar object. And whenever the clothes they sew for the living child, they sew for the other one, they begin appealing to the spirit of the dead child to come back. And when two of them died, they are all dressed the same way. They will continue to make sacrifices and appeal to them to come back. Now, last but not the least, people wonder, why do we exhibit a toy? But this toy is over 50 years old. It was collected in Nasarawa by some British missionaries when they were passing. And they saw the ingenuity of our kids at that time, who saw a truck pass, and they decided to replicate it.
So this particular collection was made by a kid
back then. And what is the challenge we are saying? Today, parents go to supermarkets and buy toys for children. And immediately you buy them, give them 2-3 days, they destroy them. And we are killing their creativity. What are we doing here? We are saying, if children back then could produce this, why can't parents go and buy the materials for children, give them to create their own toys? One, you are challenging them to be responsible. You are challenging their creativity. Yes.
Amazing. Is there something else?
The last but not the least, the dance cut from Adamawa area. But it will interest you to know that this dance cut, some of them were also collected from Igbo land. It shows you the similarity of our cultures. That look at the distance between Adamawa and Igbo land. Yet they produce similar things. Because some of these were found in some statues in Igbo land, Arusi statues. It is Arusi. What we are saying is this: if these communities could produce things similar despite their distances, why are we emphasizing our differences today? Why can't we emphasize the similarities between our art and what our forefathers had produced and are still producing? If we emphasize that, I think the unity that is eluding us in Nigeria could easily be achieved.
Wow.
Yes.
This is so much. It's been so much I've learned, especially in this exhibition. You know, right from the entrance of this exhibition and coming to see how kids should learn. And the Jos Museum is amazing. Now this museum is really amazing. Having to go to the first section, to the pottery, and now to this particular rare collections. I'm so elevated in this particular collection because it's amazing, you know, to see all of the writings on the collections. I'm inspired, and I can imagine what it would do to everyone who takes out time to visit the National Museum in Jos. I'm telling you, you will be educated. You will be amazed to see some of the things, the great achievements that were made by our forefathers. Now, I'm personally inspired by that toy you showed me, and you talked about the creative minds of the young ones today. Yes, parents should take our time, you know, to explore the creativity in our kids and in the upcoming generation. And this is what our forefathers did. And we are the ones on the scene today, and it is time to take this to the next level. I hope you've learned a lot today on my little tour around the museum in Jos. Till I see you again next time, remember, it's a day in your neighborhood where we showcase and explore the rich cultures and heritages of our land. Thank you for watching.